Hello and welcome to this week's edition of 50 Years Serving the Island, a series of programmes showcasing highlights from Manx Radio's archives during the station's first 5 decades serving the public in the Isle of Man. In 1968, Manx Radio was transferred into public ownership and became the island's public service broadcaster. Today we hear a special programme first broadcast in 1986 to celebrate the birthday of the island's national poet, T.E. Browne, who was born on May the 5th, 1830. It's presented by Major Geoffrey Crellin.
Let us then make all we write very good and sound. Manx timber, Manx caulking, Manx bolting, Manx everything. Manifestly, we shall not appeal to strangers, nor in fact hope to make a penny. Neither will the Manx public defray the expense of pen and ink and paper. We must make a long arm and stretch back and grip the receding past. Don't care a scrap if we run the risk of being unintelligible to the rising generation. That is of no consequence. Let us execute our office faithfully and lovingly. In short, we must be both daring and modest. Manx Radio have produced this short programme to celebrate the birth and indeed, to some small extent, the life of our own great Manx national poet, who was born on the 5th of May 1830. Thomas Edward Browne, the 4th son of a family of 10 children, born to the Reverend Robert Browne and his wife Dorothy. She was a great lady, and how she coped with her sacrificial role in the raising of this large family in a situation of pastoral responsibility but economic poverty, no one alive today can possibly imagine. But we can imagine and remember his beautiful verse and music. And it is appropriate that we should start this little celebration with the lovely Eleanor Shimmin, with that lovely poem, Sing, Zephyr, Sing, with J.E. Quayle's music. Most listeners will recognise and appreciate the delightful accompaniment of Mavis Kelly.
Sing, Zephyr, sing, shed from your dusky wing the violet, make music with your golden frets. Sing, Zephyr, sing. Sigh, Zephyr, sigh, give passion to the skies. The tawny south has no such odorous breath. Sigh, Zephyr, sigh. Sue, Zephyr, sue, bring out the sunny hue, the pearly mist with newborn love first kissed. Sue, Zephyr, sue. Sip, Zephyr, sip, the primrose lends her lip, the crocus thrills, love hides among the daffodils. Sip, Zephyr, sip. Seek, Zephyr, seek the vermeil of my lady's cheek. So seeking, sipping, sewing, sighing, singing, while old time his flight is winging. Tell
We have been honoured today, as I've said, to take part in this programme of celebration in the presence of arguably the finest contralto and teacher of music ever produced by the island, Mrs. Eleanor Shimon, and the very man to sing the men's songs of men, Cleveland medalist, and you can't go much higher than that, Geoffrey Corkish. Dorothy Leese, a well-established and very popular exponent of Manx works, and Dolan Kelly with Michael Neal are here to deal also with the recitations. Dolan will now recite with fiddle accompaniment an extract from Tommy Big Eyes.
And Tommy had a fiddle too, and I don't know what was that he couldn't do with yonder fiddle, the way it'd mock everything. It'd crow like a cock, it'd hoot like a donkey, it'd moo like a cow, it'd cry like a baby, it'd grunt like a sow, or a thrush, or a pigeon, or a lark, or a linnet. You'd really thought they were living in it. But the tunes he was playing, that was the thing, like squeezing honey from the string, like milking a fiddle. No jerks, no squeaks, and the tears upon the mistress's cheeks. And sometimes he'd play a dance, and what harm? But she wouldn't have it upon the farm, the mistress wouldn't. Dancing, I mean. It didn't matter so much for the playing, but she'd often stop him and ask would he change to a nice slow tune. And Tommy would range up and down the strings and slither into the key. And then he'd feather the bow very fine, and a sort of a hum, like a bee round a flower, and out it'd come. Owl, Robin Grey, or the Lover's Ghost, that's the two she liked the most. And the girls that only a minute afore were ready to jump and clear the floor sat still on the form, but uneasy though, and terrible disappointed, you know. And sometimes they'd be coaxing Tommy to take the fiddle out into the orchard and shake his funny bone over a jig or a reel. Something to tickle a body's heel, says one of the girls. And I'll give you a kiss, faith I will then, Tommy, she says. And Tommy that blushed to the roots of his hair, but still he said, no matter where, if the mistress wasn't willing, he wouldn't. And Tommy will give you a shilling, and coaxing away. But he didn't regard them. And anyway, you know, she'd have had them.
Many people, even devotees of the literary works of T. E. Brown, forget that he, right from his earliest days, was a great enthusiast about music. And, like his father before him, he composed many songs associated with his love of the Isle of Man. Here is a song about that love, The Manx Sailor's Farewell, Mary Veen, sung by Geoffrey Corkish.
Oh dear, my heart can take no rest, except to be where it has been, so rapid in your lovely breast, my Mary Veen, my Mary Veen. Oh, rapid safe, oh, rapid soft, and let the towering seas careen. I'll hold you clasped alow aloft, my Mary Veen, my Mary Veen. And shouldst then fate our hopes destroy, and I on earth no more be seen, I'll meet you in the realms of joy, my Mary Veen, my Mary Veen.
You're listening to 50 Years Serving the Island, a series showcasing highlights from the Manx radio archives from the station's first 5 decades as the Isle of Man's public service broadcaster. Today, a special programme presented by Major Geoffrey Crellin to celebrate the birthday of the Isle of Man's national poet, Thomas Edward Browne.
T. Browne was, as you know, the son of a clergyman, himself an ordained parson, and also, like his father, a schoolmaster. It is not surprising, therefore, that many of his dialect poems concern themselves with life in the schools, and, of course, with equally humorous comment about the established clergy of the Victorian era. But here we're dealing with schools, and here's Dorothy Leese.
Now, Tommy was as shy as a bird. Yes, no, was the only word you'd get from Tommy. So every monkey thought poor Tommy was a donkey. But bless your soul, leave Tommy alone. He'd got a stunning head of his own, and his copy's just like copperplate. And he'd set to work and covered a slate before the rest had done a sum. But you'd really have thought the poor fella was dumb. He was that shy and bashful, you know. Not a fool, not him, but looking so. Ugly he was, most desperate, for all the world like a sucking skate. But the eyes, why, blow the fella, he could spread them out like a umbrella. You'd have wondered where on earth he got them. Deep tubs of blue light with the black at the bottom. Basins of light. But it was very seldom you saw them like that, for he always held them straight on his book or whatever he had, as if he was ashamed, poor lad. And really they were the most awful size. And so we were calling him Tommy Big Eyes. The way that chap was knocked about was just a scandal. You hit him a clout whenever you saw him, that was the style. Hit him once and you'd get him to smile. Hit him twice and he'd drop his head. Hammer away till you'd think he was dead, and he'd stand like a drum, as if his skin was a sheep's and made for hammering. Then his hair was so thick, it was nice to grab it and pull it back like skinning a rabbit, till he'd have to look up, as you may suppose, and then you could welt him under the nose. I do believe the cruellest fiends in the world is a parcel of boys in their teens, one of them stirring up the other. But still for all, the devil's mother should have looked a little more to the way the chap was rigged. For it tisn't fair play to dress a lad that's going to school as if he was born to be a fool. Fancy a frill around his neck. And what in the world could the woman expect? And his trousers buttoning outside of his jacket like these fellas that ride in the races. Surely it might occur... Oh, well, she'd a deal to answer for. So one day Tommy took the road the very earliest he could and into the school as quiet as a worm and claps his basket under the firm, his dinner, you'd think, and waited there till school began. But just in the prayer, a fella gave a shove, worse luck, at Tommy's basket, and tuk, 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 and the master stopped. And we all of us stopped, and tuk, 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 and out she popped, a beautiful little hen, and she flew this way and that way, and shish, and shoo, and over the desks, and we all gave chase, and she flapped her wings in the master's face, and the dignified he turned to look, and shoo, he says, and tuk, 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 and away to the window and scratched and tore and the feathers flying. Open that door, says the master then, and glad to be shot of us, so out goes the hen and out goes the lot of us, helter-skelter, boys and girls, sticks and stones or anything else. Catch her! Watch her! Stop her! Trap her! Here she is. There she is. Tommy's, I'll swear she is. Tommy's, hop tune. 3 cheers for Tommy. Hip, hip, hooray! And a stone come flying, and a flip and a flutter, and down went the poor little hen in the gutter, and her leg was broken. And take her up, and the poor little thing, and stop then, stop! Here's Tommy hisself. And Tommy came, and he stood like dumb. It's a dirty shame, says one of the girls, and began a-crying. Says Nimp, he brought her for Nellie Quine, and Nellie for Nellie, and took and caught her, and Nellie's a sweetheart. It's for Nellie he brought her. So when Tommy heard that, he stooped down low like to take the hen, and the tears to flow most pitiful, and shivered all over, and look at him, Nellie, look at your lover. But Nellie sprung like a flash of light, and her eye was set and her face was white, and she put her hand upon his head, and was it for me then, Tommy, she said, was it for me? And he snuffs and he snivels, and yes, says Tommy. Hooray, says the devils. Then Nellie faced round like a tiger cat. You brute, she said, get out of that. Get out, you cowards. And her face all burned with the fury of her. And she turned and she took this hen that Tommy confessed, and she coaxed it and put it in her breast and kissed it over again. My own little hen, says Nellie.
Brown described Geoffrey Corkish's next song as a lucubration. I had to look it up. That is to say, a composition of a learned or too elaborate and pedantic character. Well, maybe it is, but Brown loved to sing it for the entertainment of his friends while he was still fairly young, which of course he always was.
I once did love a pretty girl, her name was Handsome Bella. It's like enough you knew her well. She lived at Pallasala. There once a week at Mother Cowell's I sat and got quite mellow, and with a score of cheerful souls rejoiced at Ballasalla. But still the girl a notion took, she loved another fella, and I was down upon my luck, down at Ballasalla. And though I drank the foaming quart, genteel there in the parlour, she wouldna be my own sweetheart, this girl of Ballasalla. The tastiest I always dressed, the more that I did swallow, which universal was confessed by them at Ballasalla. But all I'd done with freak and fun, she married Jimmy Calla. Impossible, I think it's still, this girl of Ballasalla. And yet I spread above her head my fine silk umbrella. She did not see the spirit, this girl of Ballasalla. So with this grief that fortune gives, I'm turning green and yellow, I'm dying now, but still she lives at Ballasalla.
As I said before, T. Brown was always ready to pull the legs not only of the established clergy, but of the Manx laity as well. He had seen it all, and he did just this in the coach, on the way from Ramsey to Douglas, perhaps. Here's Dorothy back to tell you all about it.
What's the good of these parsons? They're the most desperate rubbish going. Regular humbugs they are. Show me a parson, show me a drone. Living on the fat of the land, living on the people's money, the same as the drones is living on the bees' honey. Oh, bless you, the use of them. Not the smallest taste in the world, no. Grinding down the honest working man, just so. Sucking the blood of the poor and needy. And as greedy's greedy. See the tithes, see the fees, see the glebes and all. What's the call for the like? And their wives going a taking for ladies, and their children going sending to college like the fuss of the land. Oh, it beat all knowledge, the uprisement of the like. And fingering with their pianos, them that should be singing their hosannas to the King of Glory constant. Clap them in the pulpit there. What can they do? Oh, come down the stair, and don't be disgracing yourself that way. That's what I've been thinking many a time. And let a preacher take his turn, a local. Aye, just try him. Oh, give your people a chance to get salvation. You can't be married without a parson. Can't I, though? Can't I, Master Crow? Give me the chance. I'm a married man with a family coming, but if it pleased the Lord to take Mrs. Creer, do you think there's a woman who'd refuse to go with me before the High Bailiff down at Castletown and get a slick of matrimony put upon us? Honest? Yes, honestly you are. But holy matrimony, they're saying. Holy, your grandmother. At least, I mean, and asking your pardon, Mrs. Clegg, but the ridiculous people, Elizabeth, the like yonder. Easy with your leg, Master Carla. Thank you, that'll do. Yes, Mrs. Clegg, and christenings and funerals too. Superstition, just superstition, the whole kit. Most horrid, just popery, clean popery, that's it. Aye, popery and scheming and a lie and a delusion and snares to get money out of the people, which is the Lord's and not theirs. Money, money every turn. Money, money, pay or burn. And where does it come from? I said it before, and I say it again. Out of the sweat of the working man. Oh, these priests, down with them, I say. The brute beast has more sense till us that's willing to pay blackmail to a set of rascals to a packer. Good evening, Parson Gale. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Step up, sir. Make room for our respected vicar. And may I presume to ask how is Mrs. Gale, sir, and the family? Does this weather agree? Rather damp, I dare say. And the governor's got knighted. I'm delighted to see you, sir. Delighted, oh, delighted.
Over the years, some foolish people have cast doubts, or have tried, perhaps, to introduce a controversial aspect into the life of our wonderful Manx poet, to cast doubts upon his holy Manx nationality. I maintain this is a load of rubbish. To me, he, like his father before him, could not have been more Manx, and certainly not more devoted to our beloved Ireland. And now we end our birthday programme with Dolan Kelly and Michael Neal rendering one of the manifestly best literary examples of the love which T. Brown had for his homeland, our homeland, the Isle of Man.
I'm here at Clifton, grinding at the mill. My feet for thrice 9 barren years have trod, but there are rocks and waves at Scarlet still, and gorse runs riot in Glenchas, thank God. Alert, I seek exactitude of rule, I step and square my shoulders with the squad, but there are blaeberries on Old Barule, and Langness has its heather still, thank God. There is no silence here. The truculent quack insists with acrid shriek my ears to prod, and, if I stop them, fumes. But there's no lack of silence still on Carahan, thank God. Pragmatic fibs surround my soul and bait it with measured phrase that asks the assenting nod. I rise and say the bitter thing and hate it, but Wordsworth's castle's still at Peel, thank God. O broken life, O wretched bits of being, unrhythmic, patched, the even and the odd, but Brada still has lichens worth the seeing and thunder in her caves, thank God, thank God.
Major Geoffrey Crellin with a special programme broadcast in 1986 to celebrate the birthday of the island's national poet T.E. Brown, who was born on May the 5th, 1830. And you can listen back to the whole of that programme along with additional content from the Manx Radio archives online at manxradio.com/portal.